Welcome to Shine in the Light. My name is S.E. Waliboa, and my guest today is one and the only
Naru, Kwina.
Naru. How you doing? How you doing, my brother? I don't want to butcher your bio. You know, you can tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump right into this. Today we're talking Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. Wow, what a interesting day, right?
Right.
Well, you know, my name is Naru Kwina. I'm an Oakland native, born and raised in Oakland, California. I'm a recording artist, a performing artist. I'm an educator, filmmaker, author, community activist, father, husband.
You name it.
You know, I do a lot.
Look, man, we know that Juneteenth came in the aftermath of the 1863 Emancipation Proclamation, and the new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Day, you know, which was created in 1983, right? So let's talk a little bit about this Juneteenth, my brother. You know, what you know about it and so forth, you know?
I mean, from my understanding, Juneteenth took place in Texas, and it was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was supposedly had freed the slaves.
Right.
Free is a interesting terminology because we were still indentured servants. We were still being lynched and hung. So free that's not the word I would use. We're striving for liberation. We had a chance. Let's just put it like that. They gave us a slight bit more of a chance than we had before. But you know, they were still sharecroppers who were pretty much almost slaves. And so you know, a lot of people think Lincoln freed the slaves, but you know, that's not really true. The Emancipation Proclamation, proclamation meaning it's not a law. It was actually the 13th or 14th Amendment that actually gave us the quasi freedom that we are in today. But we still haven't been paid for our services and our ancestors' services after all of this time. So I just see the creation of this new Juneteenth federal holiday as a symbolism.
Right.
I don't see any checks. I don't see any land. And so I'm not super excited and getting excited about the federal holiday of Juneteenth. But I honor our ancestors who created Juneteenth, and I do go to Juneteenth events. I don't know if I'm so much celebrating. I don't think there's anything to celebrate when you don't tell people they're free for 2 years.
Right.
That's nothing to celebrate. You should be angry about that. But I do understand why, if you were a slave at that time and someone came with the news and you were working and then they allowed you some form of freedom, semblance of freedom, you would be excited. And I probably would have been excited too. What? We don't have to work on field no more? But where we going to go now? Where's our land?
Right.
Where's our cattle? Where's our, livestock? Where's our, where are we going to go? Oh, you mean we could stay here and keep working and you'll give us some pennies? Okay, maybe we'll have to do that. Like what are you supposed to do when they say you're free, but they've worked you to death, literally, your ancestors, family, strip you of your name, your language, and then don't give you anything when they say you're free. Like, what are you gonna do? And then if you try to go and get land, they say, oh well, you can't own land because you're black or you're African or nigger or whatever they were calling them back then, nigger or whatever they were calling them, all kind of things. So the freedom was an interesting concept, an interesting word to use there. But that's kind of my take on the whole Juneteenth situation. It's symbolism for the federal government to pass it and not access us with some attach with something more tangible.
Right.
Some money, some land.
I want to dig deep a little bit, just a tiny bit on its history, because it didn't actually happen in 1863. It dragged until 1865, right? What was going on in between 1863 and 1865?
Well, I guess that the other states and places knew they were free. But you have to remember, in that time, there's no telephone, there's no, news service, national news service. So in order to get the news, someone had to bring you the news, by horse or by pigeon or however they spread the news at that time. So it would be easy for a plantation owner to pull out their gun and say, "Don't come on my property. We're not sharing any news." And if you're a slave, how would you know that somebody came? So if you're there and they're not allowing the news to come in, or they're on purposely, keeping the news from you, then that's how it is. I don't know if it was the army or somebody who came. I don't really know the whole story, who came in to allow Texas to know that they were free. I'm assuming there had to be some form of military to come in there and do that, because otherwise those slave owners would probably not just let an individual come onto their property, and they were probably really wanting to keep their slaves. You know what I mean? Because it's big money.
Right. So, but what does this mean for this holiday to be signed into law? I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but does it really translate into into equality?
Well, for most people, it's just another day off of work to party and BS. They might not even talk about Juneteenth, like most of the holidays that people are off. They don't even think about what they're off for. There have been Juneteenth celebrations way before whatever the government is doing. So we've always had those here in Oakland, where I'm from, Oakland, California. What I'm going to see, what probably is going to happen now, if you're going to have Hallmark Juneteenth cards and, all of these, commercials for vehicles and clothes would talk about Juneteenth to try to sell more stuff to Black people at that time. That's probably what you're going to see next year. It was short notice this year because it happened so quickly, but mark my word, you come back in a year from now and you're going to see some Hallmark Juneteenth cards when you go to the store, just like they did with Kwanzaa.
Who's benefiting from it? Black people are not benefiting from
not
that,
at all.
right?
Just like that. Yeah, you go in there, you see Kwanzaa, Hallmark Kwanzaa cards. Like that goes against the whole principle of Kwanzaa. That so, like, I wish if somebody gave me a Hallmark Kwanzaa card, somebody said, brother, this is not really what Kwanzaa is about. If you make me a card, I'll be more honored.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming Juneteenth is just going to take its place in the pantheon of all these other mindless holidays or holidays or whatever you want to call it, and then it'll be a commercial holiday soon enough. It's like everything else, and they'll Black people will be at the bottom, and they'll be buying from someone else about their own culture.
Do you think it should be? Do you think as people celebrate, it should be also be used to educate people on on the history and what it really means and so forth, rather than just like, partying and symbolism?
Well, of course. I mean, of course, Juneteenth in of itself is a teachable moment. You should definitely sit down with your children, if you have them, and family, and discuss what was going on at those times. And, of course, we all know about slavery and the history and the vileness and how horrible it was for our ancestors. And then, but we don't, when we hear the word freedom, we often don't really know how to equate that to modern day life. We have all the amenities and so much abundance, but when those people, our ancestors, were quote unquote free, as I stated before, they had nothing but the clothes on their back, and maybe even those didn't belong to them in some cases. All they had was their skills, their knowledge, and so that's why a lot of them moved north, where they could actually maybe carve out a life for themselves and not be under the thumb of the Southern regime, who, even though slavery was over, you couldn't tell by the way our people were treated. So we today are still, to me, not 100% free. Yes, we have come a long way in a lot of instances, and a lot of as far as like owning property, being able to own a business, and things like that were not available to us at that time. You couldn't own property, you couldn't start a business. probably couldn't even own livestock. I mean, I'm not really sure in every area, but in some places it was like that. And so you had to continue to work on those fields as what they call sharecroppers. You know, you're sharing, but really you're still almost a slave. You're never making enough money to go buy your own land. And even if you had enough money, you weren't able to buy land. Maybe they were actually able to get educated. You were actually okay. It was okay to read and write at that time. You were able to learn. So that's one thing that I believe the Emancipation Proclamation might have allowed. You know, it was okay for quote unquote slaves, former slaves, to learn how to read and learn how to write. So that might have been one thing that they didn't kill us about at that time. But,
okay. That's powerful, man. Do you think this really means anything to white people?
Ooh, man, you know, it's hard for me to get into the psyche of a white person. I mean, of course, they're not monolithic, just like we are now. We're all different. We all have different thoughts. So,
but why should they be reminded of because of this?
I mean, truthfully, I don't really know if it has any bearing on anything that white people will do moving forward to know about Juneteenth, except to have an emotional reaction. Oh, that's so horrible. They didn't tell them they were free. Let's go on and get our latte. I mean, what are they really going to do? Like, are they going to say, oh, that was so bad. Here, let me give you guys some of our money. Let us, you know, I mean, like, if you really feel bad, I'm like, give us some reparations. That if you know, maybe, you know, they'll think about reparations more instead of talking about studying it. What the hell you got to study? We already know that our ancestors were slaves for over 400 years. And you're talking about going to do a study before you give us reparations? And I'm not talking about money either. I'm talking about we need land, you know?
Yeah.
You know what happens when you get money? You spend it. And where do we usually spend our money? Our money leaves our community in what, less than 6 hours? So reparations would probably be the best thing white people ever did for themselves, because that money would go right back to their banks, right back into their system. So we don't just want money. Not that money is a bad thing, but reparations was supposed to be 40 acres and a mule. I think there's interest due on that, you know, 40 acres and maybe more than 40 acres and some tractors and, you know, some other thing. Well, no mules, but it's you know, it's very difficult, like I said, to get into the psyche of why they would do this at that time. It feels like a band-aid. It feels symbolic, but it doesn't feel like it's offering anything that we didn't have yesterday to now today we have it. It doesn't feel like that to me at all. I'm not sure. Maybe they'll add Juneteenth as a footnote, a paragraph in some of the history.
I mean, do you think it opens door to teach, you know, Black history like in depth, you know?
Not just this one thing. I don't believe that it does. And in all actuality, why would America want to teach Black history? Like, they don't want to do right by us. I mean, imagine we're in school and the language choices are never any African language. Why aren't they offering African language in school? If they really want to help us, help us connect back to what was taken from us, help us to learn something, at least Swahili, you know, something tangible for our youth. I mean, I go to class, you know, school when I was younger, and you could take French, you could take Spanish, or maybe Latin in some places, but there was never any African language. And in fact, what they displayed to us was that being from Africa was bad. Like, all the images were of people with bones in their noses and plates in their mouths, and Tarzan, you know, being the ruler of the jungle, and all the Black people bowing down to him. And I remember growing up in the 60s and 70s, if somebody called you African, you'd be ready to fight them. You were not proud of being African. And it took me a long time to understand that that was brainwashing by the media. And the media continues to put images out, all the movies that they have us in. They wanted to have still a lot of slave movies, you know, Hollywood, or, you know, they've got us playing drug dealers and prostitutes, and, you know,
then they will give you an award for that. You know?
Oh my God. Yes, they will, brother. They will. Big time award. And, You know, we just have to do our own thing, you know, and stop looking, you know, for the Grammys and the Oscars to be the high achievement point for what we do. I don't look to them for that at all. I'd be much happier if my community gave me an award, you know, people that I see every day, people that I can touch, and I have been given awards, and I have been having had community success and community support. That means the world to me. All this others outside stuff, it doesn't really float my boat, as they say.
So your thought on Joe Biden? You think do you have hope that he will continue to at least do something for Black people, something positive?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
From so far, I haven't seen nothing but symbolism. And I remember he was supposed to have a meeting with Ice Cube when he won. I haven't heard anything about him meeting with Ice Cube. I remember before, when Ice Cube came up with the policy for Black America, Joe Biden said, well, I'll meet with you after election. Well, I haven't heard anything about that meeting. I haven't seen him meeting with people like Dr. Cloud Anderson or Boyce Watkins or anybody like that who actually have solutions for our people already in place. I mean, the book Powernomics by Dr. Cloud Anderson is a treasure that that you could use. If you read that, you don't even have to do any surveys about reparations. He has already laid it out for you. You know, was it white Black labor, something book, one of the book titles. So those are the people I think Joe Biden should be speaking to if he's serious about helping the Black people, not entertainers, not celebrities. And I myself am an entertainer. I don't feel like I have all the solutions. I go talk to someone smarter than me, someone who studies this stuff on a day-to-day basis, you know?
Right.
Dr. Greg Carr and Karen Hunter. I really like their platform as well. So yeah, the hope for Joe Biden, I don't know, bro. I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah.
But if you give us something, I'm gonna take it now. I'm gonna take it if you give us something.
we know people change a little bit, but you know, as far as their history, even you know, both him and Kamala Harris, you know, history doesn't paint them the right way.
Oh no, not at all.
You know what I mean? So we still have to see what they're going to be doing. You know, so but I thank you, my brother, for you know, for sharing with us your insight. You know, any thought on fatherhood?
Fatherhood, man, come on, bro. That's the most important thing, being around your children. Anybody who's made a child and hasn't spent time with them, you are missing out on the most amazing experience you could ever have. I only have one child, my daughter, she's 16 now. And the time I spent with her from she was a baby to now is just invaluable, man. I get so much joy being around her and watching her learn, watching her grow, watch her become to be smarter than I am. That's my, you know, that's what I love. Like, okay, I'm passing something on. And Black fathers are not a myth. We are in the house. We are with our children. The media likes to portray us as all deadbeat dads. It's not true. I know so many wonderful, brilliant Black fathers out here who love their children. I even know some Black fathers who the women will not allow to come be with the children because they're not with the man anymore. But these men are having to go to court and fight for the right to be with their child, spending thousands and thousands of dollars for the right to see their own children. I think that has to go away. The system can't be so skewed towards the woman, and you know, the man should have equal rights. Yes, we know the woman carried the baby for 9 months, and I respect that to the utmost, and I'm glad that it's not me, because I don't know if there'd be any children if men had to carry them. Women are the strongest people on the planet, bro. But yeah, but you children need fathers. Women and girls and boys need fathers. You know, they need that strong role model, and we should do everything we can to be in our children's lives.